grabbed my shirt. He just did something to get my attention. And as my attention went from eye level with the person I was talking to the level that he was on, there was just this like, oh my goodness, my kids don't have that. Our kids don't, they don't have 45 years of interrupting conversation. They observe at a level that we can't even fathom. And in order for them to interrupt the conversation, they have to do something to get our attention because they're way down there.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Friday Conversations here at the SSBE. Wanted a big thank you shout out for our host, Action Business Furniture, for giving us a place to connect. And also, hello to everyone joining us online. We're really glad you're here. Today's topic is the power of being heard, listening as a superpower by Jonathan Biron. In a world full of voices trying to be heard, real listening has become rare and powerful. It's not about waiting to talk, it's about showing up with curiosity and presence. So today, let's not just speak, let's listen deeply. That's where understanding and true leadership begin. So, let's go. Off to you, John.
All right. Wow. Love it. Thank you, Joshua.
Host. Not a host. So not the host. I think we have a different host. Mr. Ribble, I think, is taking control.
You really want me to host?
I think that would be good. So, I've been told, I've been solicited for me to be the guest, and I've somewhat reluctantly, although I do enjoy the opportunity.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to interview you. We're going to get some good information from you about who you are, what makes you tick, the important things in your life, things like that.
Yeah, see, I knew you would.
And I'd like to get into a little bit of work ethic too, and why are you in real estate and all that stuff. Before we get to you,
okay,
you get to go last.
Okay,
we're going to start to my left, right here, with this pretty lady here.
Yes.
And let's introduce yourselves, but also talk about why you do what you do, just briefly, and if there's any kind of events or anything we should know about.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
My name is Melissa Biron, and I'm with Thrive Wellness. And what I do, the reason why I do what I do is because I genuinely believe in helping people with not only their health and well-being, but their mind. And I know that I can help people because I've done it. And then I've also been helped personally, and it has transformed my whole life.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
So yeah, that's why I do that.
And we'll come back for more of that too.
We can all use people like her in our life. My name's Natalie McGinley, and I am with Credit Fix Joe in Spokane Valley. And I do what I do because I know that credit can be a confusing thing. It could like hold you back from what you really want to accomplish and how you can move forward. So I need to make an impact on people by helping them just understand it and then allowing them to achieve their goals.
Excellent.
I'm Joshua Jamerson with Credit Fix Joe. My passion with this really just started because I like to help people. I needed help when I was young, and I was mentored by someone, and it meant a lot to me and changed my life. Doing this, I come across a lot of people that don't have mentors, so it's kind of fun to be able to help people step by step. Sometimes it's one step at a time. Sometimes it's overcoming a hurdle. Could be a business, stumble. It could be an evaluation of their P&L. It could be fixing one thing on their credit or helping them establish business credit. But we're just kind of full financial encompassment to help people out. Over to you, John.
Okay, your name, sir?
Are we skipping me or?
No, we're just going to ask you your name.
Okay, I'm Jonathan Biron, and I sell real estate. I will say I got into it because somebody, a person that saw me, said you should do this. That's the long story short. And then as I got into it and started helping people, and even just getting into it, the act of getting into it, learning about real estate, I had so many aha moments that I was like, I wish I knew that before I bought my first house.
And we're going to get into that in a little bit.
I suppose we will.
So Zane, what do you want to tell us about you, and why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I'm Zebra Go Zane.
Zebra Go Zane.
That's right. No, I do what I do because, nobody wants to be alone. Being able to provide a team and support individuals who are trying to better their lives and create their own business for themselves to bring in their own paycheck instead of working for somebody else.
How do you do it?
Well, there's a few things we do like add value. So we do, I would call it coaching, but we get together and talk about, hey, what are you struggling with? What can we help you with in your business? And then we do have a team that's fully supporting the administrative side of the business and answering calls and taking care of customer accounts and letting you just do what you got into business for. There's a lot of great tradesmen out there who don't have customer service training, and they don't have time to go get that.
So there must be a demand for what you're doing.
I think so.
Yeah, good. And Steve, what about you?
Well, I'm Steve. I'm a personal trainer with over 15 years experience, actually 16 in a couple months. And I've run an online wellness program really focused on more anthropology, the study of people, like our evolution and our cultural changes and what challenges that makes to our health and how to simplify the process for lifelong healthy routines. The reason I got into it, I mean, I always liked working out. It was like fun for me. I know it's not fun for everybody, but we've changed that narrative a little bit in the program. But you just get to see the amazing transformation people go through, not just physical, not like how their body changes, but you see they become more radiant, they're more energetic, they're more confident. I can't imagine any other job that can dramatically change someone else's life short of surgeries, right? It's incredible work. I'm really happy to do it. And then I am going to steal a little bit of the spotlight and introduce you to my friend, my mentor, and my coach, the author of the book, The Way of the Conscientious Connector, Mr. Dave Ribble.
Wait, that's me. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I'll pay you later. We're here today with a profile on a good friend of ours.
Who are you?
Well, I'll tell you that in a minute too. We're here in profiling John, and John has become a good friend of ours, and we love him. And it was about time that we put the spotlight on him. So I'm happy about that. I am Dave Ribble. I was Dave Ribble a minute ago, and we have a saying in the Stand Out Mastery program that we have called, if you don't stand out, how will they know you're there? And it's a bit of a rhetorical question, but it's also deserving of consideration when you're out there networking and doing the things that you do. I think it's really important for you to understand why you're doing it. And so when we get into the dissecting of a conversation or a communication or some sort of a collaborative opportunity in front of you, Stand Up Mastery is designed to take the way of the conscientious connector and break that down in those individual situations, and then practice what the best response would be and the best way to stimulate situations so that everybody wins and everybody gets the business out of what you're trying to accomplish. So that's what it's about. The 21st, by the way, where are we in September? October. The 21st, at our Connect, and you guys will help me with all of those other kinds of events coming up, but the 21st for sure at Burbity.
Yes.
It's going to be 12 speakers,
All
doing 5 minutes each, and hopefully relaying a whole lot of good information to everybody. I get to be one of them. Cherie's going to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of other people, but the 21st, we hope you will fill this room with this kind of information and bring your strength and your energy to it as well. It should be good. It should be, I think it's Sean Lloyd, if you're listening, I think this is the third time you've said this is the last event of your year. So we're tracking this, Sean. If you want to come up with some more things like that, you're welcome to it. Anyway, that's who I am. So, John.
David.
You are the guy that a lot of people want to work with when it comes to real estate. And it's not because you know more about real estate than anybody else, but it's because of who you are.
Thank you.
Who are you?
And getting into it, I'd like for you to go a little deeper. And okay, people said, boy, you'd really be good at real estate. Why did they say that?
Yeah, no, great question, and a good segue into the topic and talking about listening. And what's really interesting is that at that time, I hadn't had the aha moment that led me to bringing this topic today. And so even before I had this transformative experience with listening, I did have a knack for, I guess, reading people and reading the room and taking things in and communicating in a way that was meaningful to the person that was sitting across from me rather than just.
Well, that also sounds like a definition for being curious.
And that's a great word, and that fits listening very well.
That's a Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso. If I'll tell you what, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, pause this video, go watch Ted Lasso.
And the table clear.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Curiosity is a huge piece of it. I think for me, I had this aha moment maybe about 3 years ago where I realized that I was not good at listening.
Huh?
And I will say with a caveat, I was good at it, but I didn't realize how many deficits I had in terms of listening. And so my encouragement as we get this topic started for everybody in the room, for anybody listening online, is for just a second, suspend the idea that you're good at listening. Because we all feel like we're good at listening. And I used to come to a topic like this and say, well, I'm already good at listening. So what am I really? And then I tuned out.
Well, in the work that I do, I hear that a lot. And you can see it in their faces, even if they don't say it. They just go,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Which I think is probably like number one. And in terms of curiosity is a good fit for this. If you're not curious, you'll tune out and you won't learn. You won't have your blind spots revealed to you. And this was a blind spot for me that obviously I would tune it out. It's a blind spot. You're not aware of it. And so I did. I had this like, whoa, wait a second. I'm not very good at listening. So I went to work learning about listening and how can I be better at it. And as a result, relationships have transformed. I'm a completely different guy than I was. And I would say in that vernacular that like I'm still the same me, but things have changed. And really entertainingly, fabulously, my wife is here and she's had a front row seat to all of this. And it's been a journey that she has come along with. I wouldn't say reluctantly, but she hasn't had a choice. Like it's like just I'm going through this transformation, and it's like,
Yes.
wow. I think there's good and there's some challenge that has come with it. So there's a lot, and I think in the way that we do, I want this to be a conversation. So I'm very curious about like what our various experiences have been with listening. I actually just had a conversation with somebody that is a close friend that is, I think he wants to be a part of these, but schedule conflict makes it challenging. And we talked about so many layers to this. And this is being the third Friday, we're talking about youth and young people. So really like, how do you interact with your kids? How do you interact with young people in general if you don't have kids? And that is fascinating. And so I'll lead it off with an observation that I had in this process of learning about listening. So I have a friend that lives in Ghana. He's a wheelchair athlete. He's on the back of my phone case. His name's Raphael, and he's wheelchair bound. And so when he comes and visits us here in the States, he and I spend a lot of time together. And what I discovered when I brought him to networking meetings, we're all sitting right now, but most networking meetings, you're standing and you're in conversation with people and you're 6 feet above the ground. Well, he's not. He can't be. And I remember there's just this vivid moment for me where he wanted to say something in the conversation, and it was the three of us. It was, let's say Joshua and I were talking, standing, and Raphael was there, and his presence was there, but that eye contact, that ability to like, kind of like jump in, he didn't have that. And so he kind of like grabbed my shirt. He just did something to get my attention. And as my attention went from eye level with the person I was talking to the level that he was on, there was just this like, oh my goodness, like he's the same age as me, adult male, that has a whole lifetime of ability, like how to interrupt appropriately and all of this. My kids don't have that. Our kids don't, they don't have 45 years of interrupting conversation. They observe at a level that we can't even fathom. And in order for them to interrupt the conversation, they have to do something to get our attention because they're way down there. Now, my 14-year-old is now very close to being able to make, I mean, like we're right there. So that generation is a little bit different, but like especially kids, and there's a lot of power to getting down on their level and all of that stuff. But the idea that our next generation has something to offer us rather than us just telling them what they need to do and get them whipped into shape, get them ready for the real world, all that stuff is an idea that just huge aha moment for me. And now I actually enjoy trying to like interact with kids at their level, like not having them talk to me in adult language, just like, tell me what you're noticing in this. And it's amazing what they notice that we don't notice.
One of the things that I did for several other younger parents was I realized one day that my kids are down here, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best things you can probably do for them is you can go ahead and take a video camera and put it at their eye level right now and take it to the grocery store, take it to the library, take it to the school, take it to those different places. Because when they're older, they can play that back and go right back to that age.
Mm.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You look down here and you got a lesson out of that you're now transforming into your own family experience too.
The GoPro munchkin.
So I brought this conversation speaking points because I sometimes feel like it's easy to come up and bring something to the surface if you have something that'll trigger it. So I'm going to start doing that, bringing something that helps trigger things. But you were talking about young voices, but how can you finish that up? Can you finish just that encompassing moment, what you're talking about listing the young voices, how that can be transformational? You said it, but you didn't really go into detail about it.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think to the topic of the third Friday, like what is the next generation? I think that there's a lot of science that I don't have collated to bring to this conversation, but the data seems to suggest that as we grow up, and I think our life experience even like points to this, as we grow up, we have experiences that add filters to our communication. And so I might observe, like Natalie, I might observe you doing something and my brain tells me that you're upset.
Yeah.
Now you're not upset, but I had an experience 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where somebody had that same body language or said that thing and they were upset.
Mm-hmm.
And now in my brain, people that say that or act that way are upset. And so all of these filters, by the time, I mean, I'm almost 46 years old. I'm looking at my wife for confirmation because I'm at that age now where I forget how old I am. It's convenient. I think I'm 27. Anyway, 6, 7.
No.
I get that too much of my house.
I knew I'd get a few people on that.
Do it.
My kids are at home groaning right now.
No.
They heard me from 15 miles away. Kids don't have that.
Right. I love that filter concept. Yeah.
Kids don't have that. And so their observation of things is pure and their ability to enunciate it is not as refined.
Sure.
So what comes out needs to be like digested in a different way.
Sure.
But they don't have the filters. They don't have the assumptions. They just observe. And so that's where I think like we make the mistake, and I say we, I notice this in adults. They tend to put words in kids' mouths for them. They want to rush to a conclusion. And Rob's not here. Rob was talking about like holding that ticket open, right? The waiters and waitresses, like if their ticket is still open, they remember everything on it. as soon as they close that ticket, it's gone.
Right.
We as adults, I think we start to value closing tickets. It's like, oh, you have something to say? What is it? And you're not saying it quick enough. So I'm going to keep like guessing until you give me and it's like, okay, now we can close that and move on. And this is, I think, going back to just how does this benefit business owners? I would say one of the biggest things that I've seen over the years with salespeople. And when I say salespeople, anybody that's presenting their service, their product in an environment to a client facing, I think the biggest mistake that's often made is starting to try to solve the problem before you fully understand it. And I have seen, especially in real estate, I have seen other realtors, I've seen lenders, I've seen people that they know what their product is, they're really good at what they do. They haven't listened yet, and they're answering a question that the client didn't have in the first place. And they're throwing stuff at it that's like, that's not gonna fix the problem because you don't know what the problem is. And so just a little bit more curiosity will get you there.
That's great.
Your comment about putting words in kids' mouths, right? So one of my kids struggles with her thoughts. So she'll be sitting there like she knows what she wants to say, but she just can't get it out. And then, of course, me being impatient at this point, I'm like, is it this? Is it that? So yeah, I'm doing that exact thing. And, I'm having to learn to, and kind of tying it to business as well. Each kid is different. Each person we interact with, like because of their experiences, are different. And so, yeah, we do need to slow down, have a little bit of patience, and truly find that, okay, is my offering helping? And me suggesting these words, is that benefiting anybody right now? No, because she's just getting ticked off.
Yeah.
And even more frustrated. And then now I have to wait for the frustration to calm down so we can finish the conversation. So I just made it worse by not being patient.
Yeah. And that's like,
I'm so guilty.
no, this is
Every level right now, I'm so guilty.
and so here's where pivoting to the value for your business. Since I started doing this, I have been shocked. And Melissa will chuckle at me a little bit because I'll come home and tell her like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like something about, and she's like, she's been a very good listener for a very long time. And she's just like, yeah.
Good job.
Good job.
That's all I need to say.
But here's the thing that has time and time again like blown my doors off is I'll get into a conversation with a client that is whatever it is, heated, obstinate. They're like, oh, you and I were talking about one client I have right now that it's just a powder keg waiting to explode. It's a tough. And what I've discovered is when I bite my tongue, right? Like they say what they have to say, and I, rather than just jump into like trying to solve the problem, I use little fillers like, and I just like, let me process, let me let that sink in. And I pause and I let silence do the heavy lifting. It is amazing how given that pause, given the opportunity to really like think through what is it that I'm trying to say, the next thing out of their mouth is the solution that I was going to suggest anyway. And now it's them saying it's coming from them. They've been able to, I mean, like if you think about how much time we need to verbally process and like you say something and then like you realize that's not really what I meant to say at all. I actually feel like the opposite of that. But then if you're not given the opportunity to let that breathe a little bit and come to that conclusion on your own, then you feel like somebody's trying to solve your, push their solution down. All of a sudden you become even more resistant to it. It's like, no. So for me in real estate, price changes is one of the biggest ones, right? Like, oh, we're listed at 500,000 and we really need to get down to 450, right? And if I just come in and I'm like, we need to change the price, blah, 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 blah. No, you're just trying to, blah, blah, blah. But if it's like, hey, what do you think we should do? Oh, I'm definitely not lowering the price. I hear you. I understand. I get it. But maybe we should lower the price. Oh, okay. Now you might be onto something. Like
just silence. They just work through their own mind. He's not saying nothing, so okay, maybe we should look.
I think it's called a pregnant pause.
Pregnant pause.
Why pregnant?
Pregnant pause. It's what they do in writing for shows and things like that. If you're conversing with somebody, the pregnant pause can sometimes work wonders.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to mention too Steve was gonna tell you something, and then I was gonna tell you something right after that, but, there's the thing you described before where something triggers something else. The way somebody said something to you irritated you for some reason. They're called past similars.
I like that.
And all of us have them. We have an uncle that used to yell at you, or we have, somebody in the family that used to say things a certain way, and then 25 years later, somebody else says a similar kind of thing, and you have a knee-jerk reaction to it. Those are past similars, and they're quite common.
I like that.
What you got?
Well, two things now. Past similars, just to get unnecessarily technical. I think in psychology they call those like schemas too, right? They just create patterns that we look for shortcuts, and if you have that pattern, you make an assumption. We all know the expression: when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you. So what my high school teacher said, he was like, "Your actions never reflect on me. I'm not accepting that." So he was but yeah,
There's no me.
yeah. He's like, no, you don't get to make an ass out of me. That's it. No, but anyway, and then the just random tidbit, the pregnant pause is called that because it's kind of like birthing a new emotion, or it's that gestational period.
Well said. Thank you for the definition, because I was stuck on that thinking, why pregnant? I don't want anything to come out of that on the viewership, so
It becomes this bubble that comes through the room. I mean,
I like it. Thank you both of you for bringing that.
Well, and then listening to like little asides and listening to little comments, you gotta add some more depth. And especially when you can, like Joshua mentioned, like he was gonna be fixated on that. And I think fixations usually get in the way of our listening, right?
Good.
I know I get this problem sometimes where someone will say something and I want to respond to that, but also out of like politeness, I'm not interrupting them. And then they keep saying stuff and I'm waiting for them to stop so that I can go back 7 paragraphs and be like, hey, no, you also made this comment that I wanted to share on.
well, last Tuesday, you said.
I don't know what you said since then. And since you've gone on that personal journey of trying to listen thoroughly and truly, do you run into that experience where you will get stuck in the middle of something and just accidentally stop listening? Or are there little things where you've learned, like Raphael, just that little tug on the shirt, just that small interrupt? Or how do you maintain listening when you've stopped listening?
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is one of the major themes that I wanted to bring to the table today. And I think the first aspect that I want to speak to is go easy on yourself. You can't listen to everything all at once. There's really, you have one thing that you can be focused on at any one time. And in fact, I wanted to do an exercise at the table, and anybody listening at home, feel free to join in. I want you to come with me on a little journey. Okay, so right now we are physically in this room. You're hearing my voice. Everybody's looking at me, so you're seeing me. Okay, now allow yourself to slide out of this room, and something that has been said, something that's triggering, and I'm going to start even intentionally triggering you. Think about where you're going to go after this. Think about what you had to do before. Think about the email that you're supposed to respond to, but you're supposed to be. When you do that, you slip from direct experience. Direct experience is I pick up this can of soda water and I feel it's cold in my hand, and I can smell the smell of it. Physically, that is direct experience. It's what's happening now. Everything else is narrative experience. It's what am I going to do? What have I done? It's thinking about the past. It's thinking about the future. It's thinking about hypotheticals, like what's going on in the space around us that we're not aware of. What are my kids doing? Just anything other than what's actually physically happening in the room. You can't do both at the same time. And that's not a challenge me trying to get you to do it. You're either in direct experience, you're experiencing what's happening, or you're experiencing other things, your narrative experience. It's like a muscle, Stephen. It's like a muscle. You can exercise that muscle. You can become aware of when you're in direct experience and when you're in narrative experience. An aspect of listening well, and especially if it's like a lecture type situation or somebody's really like, they're going and they're going on multiple points. In order for you to take what they're saying and process it, you have to go from the direct experience of hearing the actual words they're saying, and go into the space that they're describing. So when I started describing, think about where you're going next, all that stuff. In order for you to listen to me, to give me the respect of listen, you're obeying what I'm suggesting to you and moving away from the direct experience. You're no longer in the room, you're out of the room, and I'm just a droning voice in the background. And so literally be easy on yourself, or don't be hard on yourself, because you can't do it all. You can't be direct experience and figuring out. And so, especially in a conversation like this, where there's like these like, oh man, I got to deal with past trauma. I got to deal with like that trauma starts to come up, and it's like, oh, this is not the right place to deal with that. Just a minute ago, I was monologuing and I got lightheaded. And I was like, okay, I need to wrap this up so someone else can talk. I got lightheaded. I got to drink some water. So there's a lot going on. All of that to say, to answer your question directly, when I'm in a conversation, my mantra for active listening is this: listening closely enough that I want to interrupt, but with the self-control or self-discipline to not interrupt. And so when you say something that takes me off on a tangent, or when you say something that gives me like, ooh, I could add this, or I could push back on this, and you keep going, I just make a note to myself like, oh, I'm not keeping up with you. I'm going to just let that slide into my subconscious, into my background. And this is where you get into, depending on your faith background and different things, if you want to go into spiritual, I'll let the spirit remind me. If you're more like on the physiological side of it, I'll let my subconscious remind me. Whatever it is, like that thing is like, ooh, that's good. It's a thread. That's why you guys have all heard me say there's a lot of threads there that I want to pull on, right? And we can only pick one thread. And so when you acknowledge that, and that's where if somebody's talking, it's like, okay, that was a thread. I'm going to there's a thread there. Oh, there's another thread. Okay. And just kind of keep like accumulating those, but push it to the back and get back to present where they're at. And interestingly, especially when somebody's monologuing, such as I am now, just the mannerism of like you're gonna say something and then they keep going. Just let that be your like physical check of like, okay, there was something I wanted to say there. I'm gonna tuck it in, and where else? And that's kind of where I started these conversations from. It's like, let's have these conversations. Let's let the threads go where they go. Let's have guidelines, and also just let the spirit lead in that vernacular.
So I really like that discussion of the direct experience and the narrative experience. I'm reading a book right now for my book club called My Stroke of Insight. I think you'd really enjoy it. But it's a neuroanatomist. She was working at the Harvard Brain Bank. She ended up having a stroke, and obviously knowing the brain really, really well, she had this really odd experience of being like, oh, this is shutting down right now. This is fascinating. But she also talks about, because she gets a massive, massive stroke in her left hemisphere of the brain, which is our linear, our analytical, our file cabinet. So she doesn't get to communicate with the left side of her brain for a little bit. And she now lives, well, not now, but in that moment, she got to experience the right half, which is really that direct experience. The left half of the brain would be that narrative experience, that brain chatter, that internal monologuing, and the putting things in its place. And the right half of the brain's that like, oh, this is this. This is now type stuff. And I think it fits in really well there with kind of your direct experience is that right hemisphere, and then the narrative experience, those little threads that pop off to the side, that's kind of that left hemisphere. So it's really interesting to get that the time of it was interesting, just reading the book at the same time.
Yes.
But more language on that. Yeah, but it is really interesting. We do have those we do have the in the moment experience, and then we have the story about it, and they're kind of different sides of the brain, different sides of the experience, and to recognize that and put a little button on it, or to practice stepping from one to the other, I think is helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess I'll talk a little bit. The emotional impact as I had bulleted. To me, I feel have communication with. I want to shut my brain. You know, at my home, I feel like professionally able to because I it could have failed. So I should be able to show that same respect to my family. So I'm definitely going to take good heart to that. And I love this. The emotional impact for me when I do listen, trying to listen with so much intent that I'm trying to help them. So when I'm communicating with them, it's like I love you in my mind. And I love you. I love you. The depth way that I'm listening. So it's like. You know, if you just have a random conversation with some stranger off the street, you're not necessarily feeling that. You're just kind of spacing yourself from the conversation or the situation. But if you change your mind and just, I love you, I love you, I love you, all of a sudden this guy could be your uncle. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? What can I do to, you know, here's $5. Like, you have to be a drunk. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of get involved. Like, it changes that conversation and it changes the way you feel about yourself. So for me, I like to be emotional in my conversations because that does shut down that chatter. That shuts down the other selfish things that may come out. And I do think that everybody's selfish to some extent. You kind of have to be. It's innate built into you. But, you know, it does kind of shut that kind of stuff off. So I like to care. And I think I just need to do that more throughout my life. So
I think that's a good observation, the emotional aspect. And this is another life transformation that I'm actively going through.
Before you go further on that, though, I'm going back to the kids.
Yeah.
And then I'm also relating it to our so-called adult business. And that is that one of the things I think that I found very helpful with my relationship with my children was if they were really upset about something and I came in and sat down on the bed and wanted to hear what was going on, they would tell me, usually in tears and stuff like that. And I remained calm and loving, but I also said, let me see if I understand this right. And I'd play back to them what I thought was going on.
Yeah.
And we would either correct it or confirm it at that point. Don't you do that with your customers too?
I would like to say that I do.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it comes up the same way as adults, where they want the 500 and you're saying 450 is as much as we're going to get. Do I have it right? Do I have this understanding correct that under no circumstances would you let us do this at 450? Or would you be open and receptive to the possibility that we can also do some things over here that's pretty much going to help you sell this thing faster?
Right.
So making them play it back,
Yeah,
I think is a good tool.
it absolutely is. Yeah, I think that's a good skill set. And I think that is one of those skills or vernaculars that is, I see that happening where the spirit of curiosity doesn't exist, and it's just trying to be like, it's almost being used as a manipulative tactic. That's the word I'm looking for. That tactic, separate from the genuineness, is not always great.
Right.
But yes, if you're like, okay, and this is, you talk about kids, but like with your spouse or somebody that's close to you in that way, this is so powerful because it's like, let me tell you what I heard.
Yeah.
Or what did you hear me say is another way of doing it. So like if I say something and Melissa has a reaction to it that I'm not expecting, right? Rather than like trying to pile on and be like, no, you don't understand. This is what I meant. Like, help me understand. What did you hear me say?
Yes.
And then when that comes out, it's like, oh, okay. So yes, absolutely. Because of what we're talking about here, we all come to the table with different life experiences. When we take a step back and say, okay, hold on a second. We have a pretty good relationship. I don't think that you meant to call me what I think you just called me. So I'm going to ask, what did you mean by that? Because what I'm hearing you say is, and yeah, so I think that's a very powerful.
Well, I think it also builds your reputation. You know, we all
Sure.
think about this and going, well, it's one transaction and it's over and all of that. There's opportunities for you to build a reputation with everyone you speak to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those are the key little things like, well, what do you think about Jonathan? He listens.
Mm.
He asks me interesting questions.
Mm.
He follows up. He asks my opinion. Those are all things that make them want to recommend you to the next person.
It's kind of like you're saying that they sell themselves. By listening, they sell themselves. Because you're just giving the guiding path. You're just the expert in the paperwork. You're the expert with just the negotiations, talking to the realtors. But really, the person wants to buy a house. They just want to use you for the transactional side. But if you listen well enough instead of suggest, that it just kind of automatically happens, I would think.
I think just outside of the sales and the professional stuff of it, just that skill set of checking in and rephrasing and rehashing and repeating kind of that statement is very useful. I use it. I mean, I immediately thought of the last conversation I had with a client today. I was on a coaching call and they were giving me some descriptions. They woke up funny, right? And had like a twisted little something or other. And we were talking about it and she explained kind of the symptoms that she felt. And I said it back to her and I had it backwards. So that was really helpful that I wasn't trying to diagnose the wrong problem or give the wrong exercise for the wrong muscle, right? So I thought things were going medial. Turns out they were going lateral. Fancy technical terms, doesn't matter. But then also, as you were talking, I was thinking of, apparently I'm a big reader. This is the second book I'm recommending today. Crucial Conversations is a fantastic book. Anyone that has a conversation with another human being, I think should read this book at some point. It's very useful. But they talk about kind of the process to get to spoken word. You have a trigger, you have a thought, you have the thought that thought creates, you have the next thought. You're usually, by the time you verbalize something, you're 7, 8 different processes away.
Yeah.
And when we hear what someone says, we instinctively try to reverse engineer that 7-step process, and we don't do it right. So there are some times where you're like, I'm sorry, I can't, what did you hear me say? Because they reverse engineered it wrong, or you delivered it wrong, or you get upset at someone, so you just kind of clarify because you got the 7-step process wrong, and it just anytime you can just make sure that you heard things that were said the right way, or make sure that they were heard the right way, to just make sure that you're having the same conversation between both parties instead of 2 parallel conversations going nowhere good.
Yeah. I was gonna talk about listening to young voices and the emotional impact together. And I've witnessed this, especially with our middle child, Eleazar. And there was a time where this is not like our normal gatherings. We had people at our house that was not our, monthly thing. And they're people that I love and trust and really respect. And a lot of them were older than John and I. And there's like 60 of them at our house. And our kids are always encouraged to talk with the people in our home. And at one point during the day, Eleazar just started walking to his room, and I looked in his eyes and I was like, oh, wow, what just happened? And he was very teary-eyed, and he was like, I need a minute. And so I gave him that minute, and he came out a while later, and I talked to him privately, and I was like, what is going on? And he goes, they're treating me like a child. They're talking to me like a little boy. And he's 12. And he is very used to John and I talking to him kind of like an adult. honestly. And he has very deep feelings and he has very deep conversations when you get him alone. And it really took me back because I was quite surprised by the group of people that were in our home at that moment, that they were talking to him like that. And later in the evening, he was chatting with a guy that we massively respect and actually a mentor of ours. And it was not the case with him. Totally talking to him as an adult, talking about like stuff that was amazing. And he just really ended the night well. And he had felt from Eliezer that something happened. And he didn't ask him about it. He just talked to him. And that the rest of the evening, which was not very long because we had to cut the evening short, or, you know, it was late, he just had a great experience and it was wonderful. And it really blessed my heart. And I'm going to point out Dave here because we had gone to their house and Dave had an amazing conversation with Eliezer. He heard him, he listened, he asked him questions. And Dave had told me, gosh, I had an amazing conversation with Eliezer. And I told Eliezer, I think it was like the next day, hey, buddy, I just want to let you know, Dave really appreciated that conversation that you had with him. And he goes, you know what, Mom? I really loved that conversation with him.
So that's kind of back to there. Listening is respected.
Yes. And he was respected. He was heard. He was valued as a person, and it was a completely different experience. And I think that at times, and I've seen this, we talk to our children like they're younger than they are. Instead of leveling them up and bringing them up to a conversation, we talk down to them and bring them down to a level that is lower and beneath them. And I think emotionally we're hindering our children. And I am not by any means saying John and I are perfect, because we are absolutely not. We have learned a lot along the way and made 1,000,001 mistakes. But we are talking about children and our businesses, but it goes both ways. I think that there are times when we talk to either clients or people that are in our sphere and we're talking beneath them instead of raising them up. And I think that when we really see and value people and really hear them, we're really raising them up to another level versus lowering our expectations of them, or asking them to lower expectations. And instead of like in this encouragement and like, hey, let's be raised up. Another side note about interrupting, and we have taught our kids this, is whenever they need to talk to us and we are speaking with someone else, we ask them to put their hand on us, usually on our arm. But it's not just that. We let them know that we acknowledge them. We will be with them either by like raising a finger or like putting our hand back on them. And if it's an emergency, which that has happened, they will really get our attention. But I think that there's a huge level of respect when we teach our kids to interrupt us appropriately versus demanding our attention and then us needing to physically turn and get to them right away. It is letting them know that, yes, we hear them, we see them, and we will get to them in a minute, but you're going to respect my time and I'm absolutely going to respect yours in return. And gosh, I see it all the time where kids are demanding and that parents are like quick to interrupt that conversation that they're having and not valuing the person that's in front of them and they're talking to. So anyway, that's
and that could just continue down the generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about the change that can come with that.
I love the idea of just
I'm gonna adopt that.
put your hand on the arm
Yeah.
for two reasons. One is acknowledgement, and the other one is don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish this,
Yeah.
stay. 'Cause,
Yeah.
maybe the house is burning down or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and to add to it, and it's, I think this is a great pivot even because I don't know that I've put these two things together, but a mentor of mine early in real estate described that it was a little bit different how he interacted, but with him, when his kids wanted his attention, he would wrap up whatever he needed to do, but when he was ready to give them his attention, he got down on their level and he held their head in his hands and looked them in the eyes. And it's just not exactly how we do it, but it's the idea, the visual of it is super helpful of like, you have my full attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I want to reinforce that's super important for our kids, for younger people to feel that. But the pivot here that is kind of an aha moment I just had is we all need that from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that I told you I was talking on the phone before we got here, we were lamenting, like when you're on the phone, it's difficult to tell. But like if I'm talking to you guys and all of a sudden I start doing this, right? Like, and if you're talking to me and I'm doing that, right? Like if I'm in that situation and you start tuning me out, like I'm just done. Like I'm zipping my lips because you're not hearing.
It's bothersome to hear talk to people and then they just start texting on the phone like, cool, buddy, I'll just go shoot myself. I don't know what I'm doing. Why are we here? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure.
like if we can't, I know it's in here a lot, respect. If we can't give each other the respect of our full attention, then and this is something Melissa and I work on, like it is helpful to just acknowledge that and say, hey, I want to give you my full attention. This text is like, because we're married, we live together, like there's this whole like, we're there 24/7. So it's like, hey, I need to take a pause to do something. But if I'm having coffee and this is something, real estate is probably like the worst with this. Like early on when I started in real estate, it was totally acceptable for both of us to have our phones out and we're talking. It's like, oh, hold on a second. Because everything's a fire. Everything's an emergency. Everything. And it's like, once I realized like, actually, no, it's not. I can sit with you for an hour and have a conversation over coffee where I am not, man, that changed everything for me.
It's really hard to convince people that no one's gonna die in the next hour. Like no one you care about is probably gonna die. You can put it away for a minute, and if they do die, you can't help them anymore.
You weren't gonna solve anything by stopping a coffee conversation. I agree.
If they're dying, they need 911, not you.
Yeah.
I even noticed lately, and I don't know why I really started doing it, but this conversation kind of brought it up. But I've noticed I'm having conversations with people on the phone and I have to close my eyes. And so I feel kind of weird because I'm in my office, my eyes are closed, but then it shuts everything else out. I can focus on who I'm talking to and what's going on. And, because I'll get an email or I'll get things popping up.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to like, oh, yeah. So if I shut my eyes,
That's good.
That's
kind
good.
of
So
closes everything else out.
that takes care of Zoom. You're not gonna do Zoom that way.
Well, yeah. I mean,
You can just zoom with headset. Put
well,
on
maybe
the
I'll get one of
AirPods.
those VR glasses.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Have a VR's Credit Fix Joe room. It's a meeting table just like this. Everybody puts on VRs from anywhere in the world. They have an avatar that shows up. It's spatial surround, so you can hear about where they're coming from. It's pretty cool.
Can mine be Batman?
You can be anything you want. When I used to have employees, and I would do every Friday we did training, and obviously they were all trained from the beginning. But one thing that I learned and actually started talking about was, when I would talk about my sales meeting or whatever training topic, I would say sometimes big words, and I don't use them here because I'm trying to keep it simple. But you'd say a word that maybe they didn't understand, and you continue with your training. And then when you put it in action the next day, you're like, well, we just talked about this yesterday. How come you didn't send that email? We're supposed to send it once a day. Well, I didn't hear that. You didn't say that yesterday. Well, they got stuck in their mind on one thing and they went down a belly trail and nothing else that I said stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have watched their face for a look of, I don't understand, because that was my cue to pause. I'm like, wait a second. I see that you're not quite on par. Do you have a disagreement with what I'm saying? Or do you have something to elaborate on? Or no, I just didn't understand. What does that mean? Or what does that mean? Or why would you do that? And then it just get those things out of the way as early as you can, because along the process, if you want them to engage, they have to follow you all the way through, start to finish. So that applies in business. It can apply in relationship or anything else.
I try to
Watch that
preemptively do that. I try to preemptively do that. Like I know earlier I was talking about I was having a conversation with a client and I was like, oh, I was going medial. She meant lateral. Normally, if I say use language like that, it's a little bit more technical jargon. If I went, I was going more medial. I was following I was assuming the sartorial, the sartorius. Medial just means like towards the middle of the body. Lateral's outside, and I was backwards. So like I'll preemptively like define terms if I use them in conversation. I know in the past I've been accused of using too many big words. So I do try to help bridge that gap.
Well, we want to because we want to sound smart. So it's like you got to inject those big words from here there so you can.
You're growing up, these glasses are not fashion statements. And so it's a habit. Yeah, no, back in high school, me and my buddy had a bet on like who would get the highest SAT in the class. And so,
Nice.
So just nerd tendencies. I tend to use big words, and sometimes, especially in profession, right? Like got a bachelor's degree in exercise science. I taught anatomy. Like I can get real technical terms sometimes, and then I was like, oh, define that.
Let's make it work.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on that one?
Well, yeah, I think what everybody's really talking about is awareness. And I think the best way to do that is, take all the stuff that you're worried about, all the narratives and everything that you had before the conversation started, and leave them out, because we all have our worries, we all have our stresses, we all have everything else, our to-do list and everything on our minds all the time. And in order to have a conversation where you're going to listen with respect, there has to be you have to be present. Because if you're not, you don't even need the phone to look at the phone to not be present.
Right.
But you want to text that person that's texting you, but you have to just leave it alone, like you said. But it's awareness of what this person is wanting to convey to you, and or whether or not you're conveying something to somebody else.
Jonathan, any final remarks before we?
Yeah, we got to wrap this up, but really good insight. Appreciate that. And that, for me, actually, there's an interesting, there's a monk, and I want to say like a Catholic monk, Brother Andrew, and he wrote this book called Practicing the Presence of God. And in that book, he talks about like, he's basically like, he just discovered this ability to always be in the presence of God. And one of his secrets was anytime he realized he wasn't in the presence of God, he just made a note of it. Oh, I'm not currently in the presence. And debating all the theological language of it and all that aside, I think that the practice here isn't to be perfect. The practice is to say, I want to be present with you in conversation. And I'm fully aware that as a human being with all of this stuff going on in the world, I'm going to slide out of being present with you. And rather than like beat myself up about it and like then swirl into, oh, I'm a terrible person because I didn't say, oh, I just slipped in a narrative experience. I'm coming back to direct. Okay, he's still talking. Okay, well, and we all do. We all do this where it's like, oh, they're still talking. What are they? Okay, I'm caught up. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even like, okay, I need to stop you for a second because I just tuned out for the last 5 minutes. Can you? And that's a humbling, but also very effective. Like, okay, I'm caught back up again. So yeah, I think if the biggest thing I could leave us with is it's not a perfection, it's a practice, and it's something that the more we're aware of, hey, I can do better at this, how can I do? And then having that motivation, like this is good. It's good for business. It's good for the future generation. It's good for me as a holistic person to just be able to have capacity. We didn't even get to really talk about the emotional aspect of listening, but like listening to other people's feelings and going there with people is a powerful thing that I think begs another topic another day. So
is Josh going to take us out?
Be eye-piercing to someone's soul. Be effective by understanding them from within. If you don't start by their soul, nothing else matters because they're not listening to you back. And if you want to be heard, you have to seek first to be understood, as John Covey says it. So that's it. Tune in next week, next Friday at 1 p.m. Conversations Friday. Be here, be square.
woohoo! Also, if you found value in this, share it with somebody and then come on
Where
Friday.
are we, by the way?
We are at Action Business Furniture
Yeah, on Sprague.
on Sprague, Park and Sprague, 7501 East Sprague. I can't type it in enough times that I know it by heart. So we will see you all next week. Thank you everybody for being here. That's a great conversation.